everyone, today we're continuing the Q&A series and we're talking about friendships today. I got so many questions on friendships, so I don't want to waste any time. I will say I'm filming this at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday and I'm not feeling the best. I just woke up from a nap and I had planned on filming this a lot earlier, but I just got really tired. And I've been really tired these last couple of days and I've been waking up with really I wouldn't say a sore throat, but like a dry throat. And I think it's just from the weather being drier, like maybe summer is finally coming. Maybe it's from the AC, I don't know. I just feel like I'm struggling a little bit today. Very low energy, and it's also really hot right now. So if you hear the AC turn on every now and then, I just hope it's not too loud. And for the makeup products that I'm using, I'm just gonna put it on the screen and not reference it as much because there's just so many questions and I want to make sure I get to them before the sun starts going down and the lighting really changes because I'm starting this so late in the day. So a girl's kind of struggling, but I really want to get to these questions because if I don't film this today, I can't film this for another like 2-3 days. So I just need this to happen. I got so many questions about friendships, even more than I got on dating. And I guess I just want to start by saying that like a friend is only your friend if they choose to actively stay in your life, and you the same for them. It's like a very mutual understanding. It takes time to get to know each other, and I've learned over time like a true friend is someone who chooses to stay in your life through your changes and takes the time to understand and get to know you through like the ups and the downs. I don't think anyone is entitled to friendship. Like you think that someone who's your friend is going to stay in your life forever, but that's not true, and nothing is ever guaranteed. Growing up, I always thought like you're my friend, you're going to be in my life forever. It's not the case. So many things can happen that change that. So I just wanted to say that so you know where I'm coming from when I share my perspective on friendships and in answering these questions, because I got a lot of questions on friendship breakups. Hi, love your content. Is length of friendship BFF important for holding on / working it out? Thank you so much for watching and for supporting my content. I think length of friendship is definitely a factor, but it shouldn't be the only thing holding your friendship together. Let's say you've been friends for 10 years and they've been there for that 10 years. Maybe that friendship was meant to be in your life during those 10 years, but after that, so many things can change that affect the friendship. You can change as a person, the other person can change a lot. That really changes the dynamic of a friendship. Sometimes it might not make sense to have each other in your lives anymore. Definitely work things out if you can, but don't force it just because you've been friends for so long. Friendships definitely take work, but it should also feel easy when you're with them. Like, yeah, sometimes it can be hard to plan to get together because of life situations, like someone's really busy with their work schedule or someone has a kid, like just a really tough schedule to work around. But once you get together, it should feel easy. I think sometimes people look at friendships as like a little black and white. Like this is what our friendship was like 5 years ago, and this is what it always has to be 5 years later. Friendships can change and look so different over time. How to reconnect with friends after 5+ years of losing touch. Went to different schools or work. I would just reach out to them honestly without any expectation of what's going to happen or what they're going to say. If you're genuine in your intentions and they don't want to meet up with you or they don't want to see you, they're totally allowed to do that, and you can't get upset over that. I feel like sometimes people are scared to reach out because they're scared of the other person saying no, but like that's a very likely chance. Like some people don't want to dive into their past or relive their friendships, and that's okay. When it comes to friendships, I've had people who feel very entitled to my friendship. They feel like I owe them friendship, but no one owes you anything. And I feel like if people lived more like that, they would be a little bit happier or like less resentful. I think going into that just puts you in a better place. Like it would be amazing, of course, if they wanted to reconnect, but if they didn't, you have to be fully understanding of that, because that's what it means to be like a good friend in person. So I would just shoot them a text or Facebook message, whatever works best for you, like your form of communication, and just say like, hey, I know it's been a while. I'm sorry if this is really random, but I've been thinking about you a lot and would love to reconnect over coffee or lunch if you're open to it. It really can be that easy. I think the scary part is like the build-up and like the anticipation of rejection, but like you gotta accept that that might happen. What's your take on being reluctant to cut ties with a friend to not ruin the peace of our friendship group? It's so hard for me to answer this question because there are so many different dynamics in a friendship group. Well, I would first think really hard if I really wanted to cut ties with this person. Just really think it through. And if you feel like that's what's best for you, then you kind of have to deal with the consequences of what will come after that. The AC just turned on. I think you can hear it a little bit, but it might be okay. So let's say you've already talked to this person, you've already tried to work things out, and you really do want to cut ties. Then I would try and talk to another friend in the group that you trust and try to get their opinion. I know friendship groups can get really toxic. Like I've been in one where someone didn't really want to hear my side and just cut me off too. Talk to someone that you can trust, that can be like a good mediator and like middleman, that can stay objective and see both sides and see your reason and be logical about the whole thing. Tell them how you feel, tell them why, and hopefully those friends would be understanding of why you need to take space. If your friends just want you to stay friends with them to keep the peace, like are they really your friends? Are they really understanding that this person could be hurting you, that you guys aren't getting along? I feel like friends should understand that. I think that's why I'm not a big fan of friendship groups, because it's so hard to separate your identity and your independence from the group when you need to. And maybe this is the catalyst of what needs to happen to redefine kind of like your friendships with these people. Because like, let's say you're in a friendship before and you don't want to be friends with this person. The other two should still want to be friends with you, even though you want to take your space from that person. That was a really hard question to answer because I don't want to like upset anyone who is in a friendship group. I think for me, I just haven't had the best experience with it, but I know some of my friends are in beautiful, amazing friendship groups and they've been in friendship groups for like 10 years. But that's just not my experience. How to deal with friends you don't vibe with anymore but still want to keep. First, I would ask myself why I want to be friends with someone that I don't vibe with. Like, what are my intentions there in keeping someone in my life like that? If I don't vibe with them, I don't know that I would really consider them a friend, like maybe an acquaintance. I'm trying to imagine a situation where that's the case, and I don't think I've had one like that in the past, but I would just keep them as an acquaintance or keep them as a distant friend or someone that you don't see very often, just kind of like redefining the friendship. I think that's kind of all a part of making friends. Like I've met people and I thought we would vibe really well in the beginning, and then the more you get to know them, it's more like, oh, I don't think we really vibe as friends in that way, so let's hang out in a different way. How to end a friendship with someone you can't avoid seeing. That's really hard. So I think I would say something similar in like redefining what that friendship looks like maybe just slowly like taking your space, changing the way that friendship looks like, and redefining what friendship means in that dynamic between the two of you. Like maybe that friendship doesn't have to end abruptly, but it just changes how much you see them, how much you talk to them. I obviously don't know like what situation you're in where you're seeing that friend every day, so I'm just gonna assume that it's like class or something. So maybe you guys just like don't hang out outside of class every day. You just go to class, see that person, and then maybe like get coffee or lunch with them every other week or something like that. And maybe that's actually better. Like maybe you would be better friends if that's how often you guys spent time together. And I know it sounds very tactical, trying to learn how to take space and redefining the friendship, and it kind of is, but all in all, in the end, it's what's best for you and the other person, because if you need some space from a friend, you should take that space. How do you make friends in your late 20s? Everyone is busy prioritizing work and not friendships. If people are prioritizing work, I would definitely respect that, because your friends are not paying your bills. And bills need to be paid. Every season of your life changes and is so different, it looks different, and being a friend is like being around through those changes, through those seasons. And so maybe they're really busy with work right now, but when they have time, you can like reconnect. Maybe you don't see them as often, but that's just what's gotta happen as you grow older and more obligations start to come up in life. And how do you make friends in your late 20s? That's a very good question, which is something that's also really hard for me. Lately, I have been making friends by going to work events and meeting new people that way. I don't vibe with everyone, But the people that I do vibe with, I'll like get coffee or lunch or dinner with them after, and it's great. If you're not able to meet people at work or work events, a lot of people tell me to pick up hobbies, take a class, find something that you like to do, and try and make friends there. There's no guarantee that it'll happen on the very first try, but you have to keep doing it if that's something that you want, if you want to make new friends. I also make friends through meeting friends of friends, and then like that's worked out really well for me. How do you make and maintain friendships in your 30s? Kind of just told you how I make friends, but to maintain friendships, every friend needs something different in their friendship. So how to maintain a friendship really changes depending on the friend for me. And sometimes other friends need this, but other friends don't need that to maintain a friendship. I have very low maintenance friends where we don't talk to each other every day. When we get together, it's like nothing changes. And then I also have, they're not high maintenance friends, but I have friends that I talk to more frequently in LA. So it's just different for everyone. And I think the way to keep friendships in your 30s is just being understanding of your friends and what they need and what's going on in their lives. I have friends who are having children right now, and you have to know that their obligations change, their priorities change, and you have to be understanding of that. I've seen so many TikTok videos of people who lose their friends because they've had a baby, and I think that's really sad. Like, you should be able to grow with your friend even if you guys are growing in different places. And I'm not just saying this that like you have to be the only one that's understanding. Your friend has to be understanding of you too. It's an equal give and take. How do you reach out to friends and how often? Over the years, I feel like I'm really an introvert. Besides the besties that I constantly text day to day, I have a hard time doing the same to those I want to keep close. I think after college, after I graduated, you don't see people every day anymore. You don't talk to them every day. You don't tell them the little details of your day anymore that you used to when you were in school, when people had time for that because you were always seeing each other with each other. I think after college, you learn like there are some things that are important to talk about when you see them and other things that are not as important, and that's okay. Friendship is supposed to look like that when you get older. Like, you don't have to tell them about your breakfast. You only tell them like the important things. I think as I've gotten older with friendships, there's kind of like a certain mutual unspoken understanding that the friendship is going to look different and change. Sometimes it's not even conscious. It's just like you're living your everyday life and then you're like, oh shit, I haven't talked to this person in so long. But it's like a mutual thing. Like, they also haven't talked to me in so long. And for me, when I start missing someone and I haven't talked to them in a while, I just reach out and tell them like, hey, what is going on with your life? I really miss you. Can we do a FaceTime call? Can we get lunch? Or can we catch up? That's really all it takes. Like, it can be really easy. And when I say that mutual unspoken understanding, I think in a friendship, you kind of have to trust that your friend is telling you what they need to. If they miss you, they have to be able to reach out to you as well and not get upset if you're the one that's not reaching out to them. And how often is really up to you. Like, when you really miss the person, when you feel like enough time has passed that you need another like catch up or hang out, that's how often it is. And once it's like consistent enough, that kind of sets the tone for how the friendship is going to go moving forward. Did you ever transition to having many friends to just a few or vice versa? Yes, definitely. I feel like everyone kind of goes through that transition after school. You just don't have as many friends as you would because you're not seeing as many people, you're not in the same environment, and I know that can be like a really hard transition sometimes. You just have to go with it. Like, you have to now put in the work to actually maintain your friendships and be around in someone's life. I think it's not as easy maintaining your friendships, and I think that's where people have like a really hard time because now you actually have to decide who you want to hang out with. Ew, my lashes are not looking great today. I think because I took a nap, they look very frumply. They're just not curling the way that I want them to curl. Let me see if I can make this work. I mean, it's fine. I'm not going anywhere. The sun is like hitting. I need to move this camera because the sun is like really hitting me in it. Have you ever lost a close friend who you thought you'd do life with, but they just cut you off with no explanation? Yes and no. Like, I have had a friend cut me off and we never talked about it. She never explained. We never really resolved what happened, but it kind of wasn't without explanation. Towards the end of the friendship, you could really see that things were getting really bad. So I wasn't really surprised, but I was just shocked more so that she didn't have the courage to even talk about it with me. She just unfollowed me on social media, and I took that as a sign like, oh, I guess we're not friends anymore and we're never gonna talk about this. And because things were already kind of bad in our friendship, I also didn't take the initiative to try and reach out and resolve things because I just didn't think it was really worth it for either of us. I think if your friend cut you off without any explanation, were they ever really a friend then? If they can't even talk to you about it or try to work things out, like, were they ever really a friend? I think if you really wanted to know what happened, I would try to reach out and ask. There was probably something going on behind the scenes or in their mind about the friendship that you weren't aware of. All of my friendships that have ended, like, I kind of knew they were at its end, so it wasn't completely shocking when it happened. But yeah, I'm really sorry that happened. That really sucks that they just kind of like ghosted you. But also, like, you deserve better than that. Everyone deserves better than that, than to just be completely ghosted, especially if they're a friend. How to set boundaries with more sensitive friends, i.e. being honest without hurting feelings. This is such a good question because it's so real. I've been on both ends where I've been the more sensitive one, and then other times I've been the more harsh one, because sometimes I just tell it like it is, but other times I get really defensive too. It all really depends on the topic and the situation. I think I learned this in therapy, but you would ask them, do you want to know what I think? And it kind of prompts them to be like, do I want to know? Even if they say yes, obviously, like, don't be an asshole. Oh my gosh, I totally think I answered that question wrong. I think what you really meant was you want to set boundaries as in, like, take space from the friend, but they're a little bit more sensitive. I think you just have to let them know that it's not personal and that you need your own space to recharge. And honestly, in the end, it's like better for both of you that you have that space and that you have that boundary. It's hard for me to answer this question because I don't know in what kind of boundary you're trying to set. Like, did your sensitive friend say something that upset you, or do you just need space from them? I think it's all in the delivery and your intentions and where it's coming from. I know sometimes when I set a boundary, I don't do it until I'm like really freaking upset because I'm like trying to avoid it, and then it builds up and then it just comes out really harsh. But if you're taking that time to set the boundary and taking space when you need to, it doesn't have to get to that point, and you can tell your friend in a way that's not going to upset anyone. Does that make sense? I feel like anytime I set a boundary, it gets very nerve-wracking because it's at the point where I'm like already very upset or frustrated. But if I do it earlier on and I make it clear, like, hey, I actually really don't like that, it's a lot easier. So as soon as you recognize it, try and have that conversation rather than letting it accumulate and like get to a worse place. Okay, I'm pretty much done with my makeup, but I have a few more questions. How to navigate friendships and hanging out with people who have different spending patterns than you. I would just take the initiative on planning the activity so that it stays within your budget, or just be honest and let your friend know, like, hey, I'm on a budget this month. Do you mind if we do something else? And also, like, try and provide options. I think that's better than just being like, I have no money, I don't want to do that. When to end a friendship. I feel like you should end a friendship when it's no longer empowering any one of you. You should feel supported in a friendship. Sometimes in friendships, like, you're going through something or your friend's going through something and they're gonna need more or less, and that's okay as long as there's like an overall balance to it. But I think you should end a friendship when it's no longer like making you feel good. You should be around people that make you feel good, and if that's not happening, like, why stay in the friendship? How can I move on from friendship breakups? It honestly just takes time. It takes a lot of time and a lot of space to move on from a friendship breakup. It's slow, it's hard, it's fucking brutal, but it just takes time. I try not to focus on the breakup and the bad things and the endings, but I try to focus on the friendship when it was good, and like, I needed that friend during that time of my life, and now we're in such different places that like we can't really be friends anymore, or like we just don't get along anymore, and that's okay. Like, that's what I have to tell myself. It kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. We're not entitled to our friendships. People come and go in our lives all the time. I think it's just more shocking because you never expect the friendship to end. You know, I'm like in my 30s now. Like, I've had a lot of friends come and go, and like good friends during that period of time that I don't talk to as often now or talk to at all. And so I just kind of like look back and think of like those good memories, and like that's exactly who I needed at that time. But now, like, I think you'll find that you'll need something different. Me looking back on the friendships that have ended, I don't know if it's just, you know, in hindsight or, you know, my processing, whatever, but I just can't imagine us being friends and being who we are today. It's like I needed to not be friends with them in order to be who I am today. And I'm not saying that in a good or bad way. It's just, it is what it is. And it's the same for them. I'm like, I can't imagine them being who they are now if I was still their friend. And I think that ties into the second question, how to deal with the guilt that comes with leaving people in their peace. I think you have to take the guilt part out of it. Why do you feel guilty? I think once a friendship ends, you lose the privilege of knowing what's going on in their lives because you're not their friend anymore. You're not entitled to that information. You're not entitled to know what they're doing. I think when a friendship ends, you have to wrap your head around the idea that this is the best thing that's happening for both of you because it ended for a reason. And when you see it from that perspective, it's a lot easier to move on from a friendship breakup. I think along with that, you kind of have to learn to trust in yourself too. I like who I am today, and I can't imagine being who I am if I still had those friendships. And again, that's not in a good or a bad way. It's just I can't imagine being a different version of myself. And those experiences helped me become a better person, become a better friend. So it obviously sucks to have to go through a friendship breakup. Just know that everything like happens for a reason. And if you are meant to be friends again in the future, then that could be a very big possibility. I think the universe will find ways to like bring you guys together. But in the meantime, you just have to like live your life. I haven't had a friendship end in a really long time, so I feel like everything I have to say about friendship breakups sound really harsh, but it's actually just I've moved on from the friendships that have ended in my life. So that's kind of where my perspective is coming from. I know if I was going through a friendship breakup right now, things that I'd be saying would be very different. So just know that it like gets better. Oh, one way to move on from a friendship breakup is also to block them on social media so that you're not seeing them all the time because it's just like so triggering, you know? And hopefully they don't take it personally that you're blocking them because you just need it for your mental health. I think that's really healthy to not always be reminded of what happened and like the pain of the friendship breakup and stuff. I think just having that distance really helps. I hope that was helpful and provided some sort of insight. I'm sorry I'm not feeling like 100 today. Like my throat is feeling a little dry again and coarse. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. This is the makeup look. It's like a smoky eye with this like inner corner. I'm like trying to practice. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have questions or topics that you want to talk about in the next sit down chatty video, then just leave them down in the comments. The next topics were like content creation or like being an influencer or therapy. But there weren't that many votes for that one. So we'll see how that goes, like what kind of questions come in. Yeah, okay. Thanks for watching. Bye.